So we just had the Tyson Fury Francesco Pianetta weigh-in. Pianetta weighed in at 254 pounds. Tyson Fury weighed in at 258 pounds. So Tyson Fury has certainly shifted a bit of weight since the Sefer Seferi fight. He still looks blubbery. He's still not back to his optimum condition, and that's to be expected, but he's obviously headed in the right direction. But the question is, and before I ask that question, for those who are interested, Tyson Fury is 10 or 11 pounds heavier at the moment than he was when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. I think he was 247 when he fought Klitschko, there or thereabouts. But yeah, the question is, has Tyson Fury lost the weight and retained his strength, his reflexes, his stamina, so on and so forth? Because that is the issue. I never doubted that Tyson Fury could lose the weight. Many fighters can lose weight. I remember Riddick Bowe. I've mentioned this before. Riddick Bowe lost the weight. He lost an enormous amount of weight going into the rematch with Andrew Golota. He came in far lighter against Golota in the rematch than he had been in several years. But he was a dead man in the ring. There was nothing there. He was weak. He looked far better in the first fight against Golota in terms of his energy and strength than he did in the second fight, despite the fact in the second fight he was lighter. So that is the issue. It's not just losing the weight, it's whether he still has the strength, the reflexes, the stamina, the punch resistance, because losing as much weight as Tyson Fury has lost, combined with the drink and the drugs and the depression and the layoff, all of those factors take a toll on the body. Tyson Fury said himself at a press conference that it's been very mentally taxing on him to lose so much weight in a relatively short space of time. We won't really know. Who knows what's going to happen in the Pianetta fight? I expect Tyson Fury to have a relatively easy time, but you never know. We won't really know, in all probability, where Tyson Fury is at with regards to his reflexes and timing and all that kind of stuff. The important stuff. The stamina, the punch resistance, etc. We won't really know where he's at with regards to those things until he fights a top 10 heavyweight again. Then we'll find out. Tyson Fury at this point feels as though he's ready for a Deontay Wilder. He feels as though he's ready. He wasn't sure a couple fights ago, or a couple months ago, should I say. He wasn't sure because he was still very overweight and still trying to find himself again. But at this point, after all the weight he's lost, he says he feels energized. He says he feels good. He certainly looks good on the pads. But as I've explained in a separate video, looking good on the pads is very different than looking good in the ring. But Tyson Fury seems to have convinced himself that he's ready for Wilder now. Is he deluded? Or does he know himself well enough to know that he is ready? Let me know what you think in the comment section below about Tyson Fury's weight. Are you impressed by the weight he's coming in at, 258 pounds? And one thing has to be said here. Boxing Beats and Rhymes mentioned this in one of his videos. He said that Tyson Fury's body looks different now. Even when he weighed around 258, in the mid to high 250s before, his body looked more solid than it does now. And I have to agree, his body does look blubbery because obviously a lot of the skin on his body has been stretched because of all the fat that he had on. And now he's lost the fat. That skin is going to take a while to contract again. Because when you look at the way Tyson Fury looked, for example, in the Chisora rematch, or how he looked against Steve Cunningham. Steve Cunningham, he weighed 254. That's only 4 pounds lighter than he is now. But his body looked in much better condition in the Cunningham fight aesthetically than it does now at the Francesco Pianetta weigh-in. And that particular image right there, it doesn't look too bad because he's got his hands up. But when his hands are down, and certainly when he's stood next to Pianetta, it doesn't look so good. But again, it's not a bodybuilding contest. You can look pudgy or fleshy or whatever the case may be at a weigh-in, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't fight. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be back to your best when you're looking pudgy or fleshy. So it all remains to be seen. But let me know what you felt about Tyson Fury's weight at the weigh-in. How do you think he's looking? Do you think he can get back to his best? And do you think his best is even good enough? Because as I mentioned in a separate video, Tyson Fury is still relatively untested at world level. He has the Klitschko win, but other than that, at world level, there's not much there on Tyson Fury's resume. So we still need to find out whether he is the real deal at world level or whether he was a one-hit wonder. You know, the new Buster Douglas. We still don't know. Buster Douglas, by the way, for those who don't know that much about his career other than fighting Mike Tyson and maybe Holyfield, Buster Douglas was always a talented heavyweight. Now, there's no way that Buster Douglas ever had the heart of a Tyson Fury or the confidence. But the talent with Buster Douglas was always there. He just didn't deliver it at the elite level, apart from in the Tyson fight. When he fought Tony Tucker, he failed. When he fought Holyfield, he failed. And he suffered several losses early on in his professional career. But nobody doubted Buster Douglas's talent. He always was a guy with quick hands and a good jab and nice combination punch and nice balance, just nice technique all round Buster Douglas. But he just didn't have that X factor that you need to make it at a top level. He didn't have the consistency. Does Tyson Fury have the consistency? That's a question I've asked all along in Tyson Fury's career. Is he consistent enough to be a long-reigning heavyweight champion and dominate the division? And being consistent enough, I'm talking about from a mental point of view and from a physical point of view. Because that's what it takes. It takes consistency. If you don't have consistency, you will suffer defeats along the way, even if you turn out to be the dominant guy of a particular era. Lennox Lewis is a good example. Lennox Lewis never blew up in weight the way Tyson Fury has blown up in weight. Lewis would put weight on between fights, but nothing crazy, not 100 pounds. Lewis never had drink and drug problems. He never had problems with depression. But yet he did suffer from inconsistency here and there. He didn't train that hard and didn't take Oliver McCall that seriously in the first fight. He didn't train that hard or take Hasim Rahman that seriously in the first fight. And he suffered losses in both instances as a result of him not being as consistent as he should have been when it comes to preparing himself mentally and physically. Tyson Fury's inconsistency has been far worse than Lennox Lewis so far in Fury's career. And he's only, 25, 26 fights in? Can we expect him to live the Spartan life of a top-level athlete from here on in? Or do we have to expect relapses? Because we've seen relapses all the way through Tyson Fury's career up until this point. It wasn't just because of the situation with Vada and the Nandrolone. No. Very early on in Tyson Fury's career, he was blowing up in weight and drinking and eating terrible food and doing all kinds of stuff. Very early on in his career. Then he had a period under his uncle Peter Fury where he got his act together. But even then, there were mental inconsistencies, weren't there? There were times when he was talking about quitting the ring and all this kind of stuff. And obviously when the David Haye fight fell through, he put an enormous amount of weight on. Inconsistency right there. Eventually that inconsistency will come back to haunt you. It has to. So can we expect, I'm going to ask the question again, Tyson Fury to continuously live the life of a professional athlete from here on in? Or are we going to continue to get the weight fluctuations, the inconsistencies, the erratic mental state? Because if that's what we're going to continue to get, Tyson Fury is not going to remain undefeated. No way. No way. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about everything I've talked about in this video. All right? It's happening. I'm out.